Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of the top stories we've been following today. Police have linked multiple shootings in Toronto to gun-for-hire networks that recruit young people to carry out the crimes. We tell you how it's done. Plus, Iran's foreign minister says the U.S. peace deal is contingent on Israeli forces leaving Lebanon, which the U.S. refutes. And a local wrestler shares her Olympic dream after winning a medal at the World University Combat Championships in Brazil.
Your nation. Your province. Your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks for joining us. Toronto police say a rash of shootings in the GTA, including one at the U.S. consulate in March, are linked to a multi-layered gun-for-hire network that is also responsible for attacks on synagogues. Toronto Police Chief Myron Dimkew says young adults and teenagers are being recruited online.
Through encrypted messaging apps, young people are hired to carry out attacks against various targets. And in order to get paid, they're required to film their attacks. Who is paying for this? This is what we are trying to determine, including by working with our RCMP and FBI colleagues. Now, I know there's been a lot of reporting about criminal groups and foreign actors, but what I can tell you is that we are still working actively to investigate who is responsible for orchestrating these criminal acts. What we know is that bad actors are using criminal elements in our city to carry out these dangerous incidents. And it is clear that some of the people hiring these criminals want to create a sense of fear in our communities, including in the Jewish community.
Police say 2 handguns seized during dawn raids last week could be connected to 27 separate shootings across the Greater Toronto area, and investigators believe the seized guns were being passed between multiple shooters. Police are working to not only identify the individuals responsible for pulling the triggers, but also those who may have directed or organized these acts of violence. Canada has leveled new sanctions on Russia. Prime Minister Carney made the announcement Tuesday at the G7 summit in France.
Canada today is announcing an additional range of sanctions on over 160 entities focused on the Shadow Fleet, as we should. Our delivery of the latest stage of Pearl packages, air defense packages, is coming. We're working more closely on production of drones together, and we'll discuss the next stage of that. But also, crucially, support for the energy system and for the winter, as well as for the reconstruction, because I go back to where I started, which is the outcome is not in doubt.
Thanks to Mark for the strong position, and it was relayed during our meeting that Russia is not winning. Everybody understands. It's great that everybody is understanding.
Yeah.
And it's great that Russia is not winning, and we have to push Putin to end this war. This is so important.
It's a good example of unity. The session this morning was very positive on Ukraine, with recognizing the progress that Ukraine is doing, but also recognizing that we need to continue to support Ukraine.
Also at the G7 summit today, U.S. President Donald Trump continued to discuss his peace deal with Iran, again guaranteeing that the Strait of Hormuz would be fully open by Friday. The same day, the deal is scheduled to be officially signed. But now Iran's foreign minister has thrown a monkey wrench into things. We get details from Elaine Carroll with the Associated Press.
Iran's foreign minister says the tentative agreement to end the war with the United States would require Israel to withdraw from Lebanon, a condition Israel has already rejected.
بدون عقب نشینی نیروهای اسرائیلی از سرزمین‌هایی که در این جنگ اشغال کرده، خاتمه جنگ کامل نشده.
A U.S. official who spoke on condition of anonymity has said the deal did not call for an Israeli withdrawal. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Monday that Israel would remain in Lebanon as long as necessary. The terms of the deal, which is between the United States and Iran, have not been made public. While Israel is not part of the agreement, it is part of the war. It joined the US in launching strikes on Iran in February. In response, the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group in Lebanon launched attacks against Israel on March 2nd, and both sides have been exchanging fire since then.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said today the details of the memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran might be released before the Friday signing. The group Vote to Stay, which supports Alberta staying in Canada, is giving 2 thumbs up to a new financial analysis on the costs of Alberta leaving. The analysis, prepared by former Alberta Treasury Board and Finance official Lenny Kaplan, projects that an independent Alberta could face a cash deficit of approximately $27.2 billion in its first year. The analysis estimates that Alberta could inherit approximately $174 billion in federal debt and face annual debt serving costs exceeding $15 billion when combined with existing provincial obligations. Michael Solberg with Vote to Stay says Albertans need facts, not fantasy.
You know, we have folks like Jeffrey Rath who put up their finger in the air and say, oh, it's going to cost $6 billion to leave. Based on what? It's a total grift. And I think for them to operate in good faith, they need to start being honest with Albertans about what separation actually means. And we have yet to see them put forward any credible numbers that are put forward by experts and independently reviewed, much like what Lenny did. It's stark. It's alarming. And this, by the way, is without some of the considerations that the separatist movement has put forward in terms of public policy imperatives on things like eliminating income tax. And this, by the way, from a tax base that could be as few as 38% smaller per polling that shows that as many as 38% of Albertans would leave if we were to move in this direction. So everything that they've put forward has been fantasy so far, and I challenge them to start having a credible debate with folks like us.
Solberg is also quick to point out that Kaplan's analysis was not commissioned by Vote to Stay, but was done independently. Medicine Hat police are investigating the death of an 11-year-old child at a city park on Monday. Police say on Monday afternoon, officers responded to a call about a missing child at the Echo Dale Regional Park. They managed to locate the child an hour later and transported him to hospital. Police confirmed in a statement released this morning that the child has since died and that the circumstances surrounding the incident remain under investigation. However, they say foul play is not suspected. The city of Medicine Hat announced on Monday that the Echo Dale Regional Park is closed until further notice. All city-operated pools and aquatic centers are also closed indefinitely for a thorough review. Police send out their thoughts to the child's family and will not disclose more details out of respect for their privacy. The Lethbridge and Southwestern Alberta Community Foundation is celebrating a massive donation that will dramatically impact youth programming. The foundation has announced a bequest from Dr. David and Mrs. Shirley Hughes of almost $3.2 million. Charlene Davidson, Executive Director of the Community Foundation, says the gift will support the development of youth leadership programs while enriching the lives of young people.
Well, they wanted to encourage youth leadership. They also wanted to introduce youth to philanthropy. Both David and Shirley passed away in 2024. During their lifetime, David and Shirley selected the grant recipients from their fund. The grants from this fund will come out through our 2 unrestricted pools, so our Community Priorities Fund and our Rural Life Fund, the Henry S. Varley Fund for Rural Life. And the Hughes Fund actually recently supported Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lethbridge and District to do mentoring in the rural community because Big Brothers Big Sisters serves all of southwestern Alberta. It's always important to support youth. I look at supporting youth, especially today with so many things going on in the world and so many challenges for youth, as prevention.
She says the Hughes were strong advocates for youth leadership and played a critical role in launching the Community Foundation's Youth in Action grant program, which empowers young people to become leaders and make a positive impact in their communities. Major improvements are coming to the Whoop Up Drive and Scenic Drive interchange, which began today and will continue through November. The city aims to improve motorists and pedestrian mobility by adding 2 extra lanes of travel on Scenic Drive south in each direction and a second lane along the westbound Whoop Up Drive on ramp. The city will signal upgrades, a multi-use path, and update pedestrian crossings. Work begins Tuesday to widen the on-ramp to Whoop Up West, while the lane lane closures are currently not in effect, there will be varying speed reductions for passing traffic throughout the interchange. As the project gets underway, plans, timelines, and impact on traffic can be found on the Get Involved Lethbridge webpage. A wrestler originally from Lethbridge has captured a silver medal at the FISU World University Combat Championships in Brazil last week. Angelina Ellis-Toddington competes with the University of Calgary's 68-kilo class and was one of 4 Canadians to win a medal. With this year being her last at the U of C, Angelina says her sights are now set on competing for the Olympics in 2028.
It's awesome. I'm really happy with it. Obviously, the goal is always to win the whole thing. But yeah, it's a international medal on the world stage, and I'm really proud of that. It is a busy schedule, but I'm really grateful to be around the people who I'm around. Everyone is really good at supporting each other and pushing each other, waking up early for practices to work around people's flights who are competing. I have friends who will wake up early on Saturday mornings to come do a match with me, and yeah, it's awesome. My next competition is at the end of June, and then I will hopefully be competing again later in the summer in August, and then hopefully Worlds in October.
During her 5 years at the U of C, where she just recently graduated, Ellis-Toddington managed to rack up 3 youth sports medals in her career, claiming a national championship in 2025 and gold at the Canada West Championships earlier this year. Good for her. And while we're talking sports, now that the NHL season is over and the Carolina Hurricanes have won the Stanley Cup, it's the end of an era for Canadian hockey fans. After 75 years of gathering around our TVs on Saturday night to watch Hockey Night in Canada on CBC, that institution has come to an end. A joint statement by Rogers, Sportsnet, and the CBC says the public broadcaster will no longer carry NHL broadcasts. A sub-licensing agreement between the 2 broadcasters, which allowed the program to air on the CBC, expired at the end of the Stanley Cup playoffs and was not renewed. In the statement, the CBC says it's moving forward with the new sports programming strategy following the unprecedented success of the Milano Cortina Olympic Games. The CBC began airing Hockey Night in Canada on television in 1952 and held exclusive Saturday night rights through the 2013 to 2014 season. And it's that time of year again when the Canadian Taxpayers Federation recognizes the biggest government spenders, in other words, the biggest wasters of taxpayers' money. Here's CTF Federal Director Franco Terrazzano with a list of who wasted your money the most. Have a listen. Most of these should shock you.
Let's go to the federal government waste award, and that was the Canada Revenue Agency for its pure incompetence, right? The Auditor General found that when you call the CRA, they pick up the phone 32% of the time, but it could be even worse when you do get someone from the CRA on the phone, because when you call asking for personal tax questions, they gave out the wrong answer 83% of the time. So because these CRA bureaucrats are giving out so many wrong answers, Canadians might as well ask a magic 8-ball for tax advice. A federal nominee was Finance Minister Francois Philippe Champagne, because the federal finance minister spent 12 grand outsourcing speech writing for his own budget speech. And, the finance department has many different communication staffers that taxpayers are already paying for. They even have a legislative speechwriter on staff whose job it is to write speeches. And yet the finance minister spent 12 grand outsourcing speech writing for his own budget speech. And not only that, in the budget itself, the government said it was cutting consultants. So the finance minister spent 12 grand for a consultant to tell Canadians that the government is cutting consultants. It's absolutely crazy. The Municipal Government Waste Award winner was the City of Toronto, because Toronto spent $2,000 on a plaque celebrating Conrad, a raccoon that died 10 years ago. The Provincial Government Waste winner was BC Premier David Eby. So Premier Eby spent $350,000 on wood leather soccer balls. In fact, he spent $350,000 on 3 wood leather soccer balls. Now, I don't know too much about soccer, and apparently neither does David Eby, because I'm pretty sure that soccer balls aren't made out of wood, and I'm pretty sure they're usually round. But Premier David Eby spent $350,000 on 3 fake wood leather soccer balls. You can't even play soccer with these things. In fact, they were designed and made for display purposes only. So it was a hugely expensive PR stunt for Premier David Eby.
So are you laughing or crying right now hearing that? And by the way, Terrazano says the Lifetime Achievement Award goes to the federal government's $1 billion slush fund for social services and humanities research council to study social justice selfies, the gender politics of Peruvian rock music, and the birth, life, and death of a grocery cart. That particular study cost taxpayers $100,000. Pizza Hut, the 68-year-old chain that has long struggled with growing competition in outdated restaurants, will be sold for $2.7 billion by parent company Yum Brands. Yum said Tuesday that the private equity firm Long Range Capital will buy Pizza Hut, excluding the mainland China businesses, for about $1.5 billion. The mainland China Pizza Hut will be purchased by Yum China Holdings Incorporated for approximately $1.2 billion. China is Pizza Hut's second largest market outside the U.S., making up 19% of sales. Yum Brands, which also owns KFC and Taco Bell, began to explore its options for Pizza Hut in November as sales continued to fall last year. In February, Yum announced plans to close 250 Pizza Hut locations in the United States. The Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission has warned Bell Canada and TELUS Corporation that recently introduced customer fees may violate new rules banning charges for activating, changing, or canceling telecom plans. The regulator has given both companies until Wednesday to confirm they have stopped charging the disputed fees or face possible compliance action. The concerns involve Bell's $40 device handling fee and TELUS's $15 SIM card replacement fee. Both companies maintain the charges are permissible under the new rules, but the CRTC is continuing its review. Bell Canada's parent company is slashing nearly 700 jobs as part of organizational changes that began last year. BCE says the cuts affect around 1% of its total workforce, or 690 positions, including around 230 unionized roles. The company says most eligible unionized employees are being offered voluntary separation packages. Last November, BCE let go of 650 manager positions at Bell and around 40 other jobs at its Bell Media subsidiary. Now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 113 points on the day to 35,389. The Dow was up 328 to 51,999. The S&P 500 was down 42 on the day to 7511, and the Nasdaq was down 307 points to finish at 26,376. West Texas Intermediate oil was down 407 to 76.67 U.S. per barrel. Natural gas was up 11 cents to 325 U.S. Gold was up 21.18 to 43.30.86 U.S. an ounce, and silver was up 3 cents to 70.01 U.S. an ounce. Feed wheat is at $8.35 per bushel. Barley is at $6.79. Canola is at $16.96, and corn is at $7.49 per bushel. Live cattle were up $4.67 to $255.30. Feeder cattle August contract was up $5.32 to $366.87. Lean hogs were down $1.77 to $94.80. And the Canadian dollar remained unchanged over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 71.50 US.
Recapping one of today's top stories, police in Toronto say multiple shootings there have been linked to gun-for-hire networks that recruit young people to carry out the crimes. This includes the shooting at the U.S. consulate in March. Toronto Police Chief Myron Dimkus says young people are contacted through encrypted messaging apps and film the attacks to get paid. He adds they're working with the RCMP and FBI to determine who is orchestrating the shootings. As the deadline to extend CUSMA approaches, both Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump seem to be putting out mixed messages. Brian Lilly, Toronto Sun political columnist, joins me to decipher what they're really saying. That is coming up next. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or YouTube channel anytime for more of our content as well as our poll questions.